Just a couple of days ago, we had the release of the Steyr Arms pack into Way the Hunter, featuring the Steyr full stock, chambered in 9.3x6.2, the one gun I was most excited about in this pack. So for this video, I had planned on comparing the full stock in 9.3x6.2 to the Steyr SM12 in 300. However, there's one quick thing I can show you to show that the 300 is going to be better. If we look in the top right, we can see the energy basically at the muzzle. We're 27 yards away, 4,700-ish joules. That's with the Steyr full stock. If we use the 300, we're going to get basically the exact same thing, just a little bit better for the 300 at 4716. The problem is at 600 yards, 3,900 joules for the 300. When we swap to the 9.3x6.2, which may be expected with a heavier round, we're in the 2,800 joules area. So I think the 300 is going to reign supreme. So rather than, I would kind of say, waste our time comparing the two, we're going to take two new weapons, the Steyr full stock and the SSG M1, and we're going to go for a hunt here on Africa. And I just want to be clear, I'm not saying that the 9.3x6.2 is not going to be an effective round, but it's more so an effective round at close range. This is 150 yards, got a 1-star mature Kudu, and you can see, that's going to be no problem. And again, the sound of the thing, the reason that I've used the Steyr SM12 over the Remington 700 long range, same caliber, is just for the sound. And I can see myself going with the 9.3x6.2 just for that. But I think we're limiting ourselves for big stuff, especially like Cape Buffalo, to probably 200 yards. But as for performance at 150, double lung this thing, really no problem. Pretty low energy by the time it got to the second lung, but still managed to drop it in its tracks 33%. Now, I should mention as well, I kind of did the ballistics comparison with the 350, and they're very similar. You guys know, I'm not a huge fan of the 350, especially at range. Both are in that 2,900 joules area, going out to around 600 yards, so they're going to perform very similarly. And I think as far as making the best use of really either gun, you just gotta be careful how far you fire it. So I think we'll put the 200 yard theory to the test on a Cape Buffalo. We're almost exactly 200 yards from this 2-star mature, and there's a couple of decent ones in here, but I like how broadside this particular one is. Just need that one to move out of the way, which it's doing. So if we zero for the proper range, just let him kind of stay there. Really nice sound, and I think what we're gonna get to see for sure is, can we make an effective brain shot? Because it seems like half the herd's coming up here. Just a question of, because of the way the land lays, where they're gonna go through at. So that was no problem. The only thing, that's pink blood, so we got him. Oh, okay. Could have been bad, didn't realize there was another one coming. That was kind of cool. Can we see where the other one went? Because I don't see him laying anywhere dead, nor do I see him kind of staggering away. That's not it. The reason I say that, when we've single lung shot things like red deer, elk, larger animals with the 350, typically they'll run for a really long ways. It's a lot of blood for the most part, but just a lengthy track. And assuming these two do perform similarly, and I think we're about to find out, we may be in for, I don't know, 500 yards of following this thing. Actually, not so bad. It was almost a straight line. 160 yards. I do want to show you though, the blood trail is very similar to something you shoot with like the 350. Really consistent blood all the way up here, but it didn't run that far. That's really encouraging. So maybe slightly better performance there. Ended up being a fairly solid double lung. The absolute first impact though is still well below the recommended energy. I think 4,600 joules is what you're looking for, and we're hitting just over 4,000. But still double lunged it, still brought it down quickly enough. Maybe we push the limits a little bit as we continue. Also, I swear this update did something to the shading on rocks. They all look weird, and it's just casually bugged me as we hunt around. They all look like Cape Buffalo in the distance. Now, one thing I think we don't have to question is the 6.5 Creedmoor. Of course, we have the SSG M1, and I think on a Hyena, it's probably going to have no chance. We're looking at almost 300 yards. We're going to stay 0 for 219 and aim high. It just sounds so good. Look smoked. Already kind of slowed up. Not too bad. And hyenas are bigger, I think, than you'd initially think. They're in the area of, I think, 140 pounds for a big one. The males are a little bit smaller, and this is an adult, so it won't be all the way up there. But pretty solid performance out of our first shot. Now, I will say, he ran a little further than I thought he would. Got a 1-star mature honey badger there, too. We may try to get that and make use of this faster fire rate. We'll see how many times we actually have to fire at it. Hit it there, I think. That's going to take it down, but one of these days we're going to have to actually just fire this thing as quickly as possible. Maybe we'll just do that next. Now, we were high in the lungs, and I thought we maybe shot too high. So probably the reason it ran as much as it did was we just didn't do that much damage to the lungs themselves. 70% actually not bad. 1-star adult, 120 pounds. And we might as well go and grab our badger here. Then I think what we'll do is go to the top of the hill, just kind of make sure we're not going to spook anything special. And we might just fire that thing as rapidly as possible. This was 1 shot too high, 2nd shot through the lungs. Little 34%er. Now let's see what things are looking like up there, as we have another badger running by. So nothing to speak of in sight. Let's just fire off a couple of rounds and see how quickly this thing can shoot, because that's one thing we haven't messed with. Still being able to action is not going to be super fast, but I think it is faster than some of the other guns in the game. I don't think I've ever seen this heat haze so bad, but we're sneaking in here. There's a 4-star mature Springbok there, and it doesn't look terribly gray. There's another mature in here. I think it's that one. It's a 2-star, so I think we'll take that with a 6.5, and hopefully we can kind of see what we're doing. Definitely blurs things up a little bit, but we're looking at about 100 yards. That Springbok's got no chance, but I'm not 100% sure we have this zone. Is that herd, I bet? But they should have a feed zone somewhere right in here. We definitely want to make sure we grab that. Oh, it's a rest zone, actually, but... oh, there's 2 herds. The icons are basically side by side, so good to know. Definitely could have screwed that up if we didn't spend the time to look. Double lung that, no problem at 126. Little 44%er. And hopefully that 4-star becomes something. We've had a couple of 4-star Springbok here on Tikamoon Plains. None have made it to 5-star. A whole bunch of gemsbok over in there. It's just tough to identify anything with that heat haze. Ooh, a 4-star gemsbok as well. We spooked them out of there. I was trying to just creep forward and spot everything. And I don't know that we have that zone. It's right in here in this kind of almost completely dried up creek bed. There's a couple of spots animals do drink. I think we've got that. And definitely a lot of stuff to pay attention to on some future hunts here. I know I just saw a 5-star goose. It's the one on the very end, I think. And that's probably the only chance we have to get it. Now, the one problem is we fired some extra rounds in this thing. Oh, that was so close. We're right there, and they're actually kind of coming this way for some reason. I'm going to let them. Oh, boy. Okay, are they going to land? Because I completely lost which one he was. That's him right there, 90 yards away. There's so many geese in here. It was more of a challenge to spot him on the ground. You know, I almost want to see if we can kill 2 with 1 shot. Oh, that one's going to turn away. It's this one here. We're going to try to shoot through another one. That actually worked perfectly. That was kind of cool. We've shot a lot of 5-star birds in different, maybe not incredibly challenging ways, whether shooting them with the bow off the ground, attempting to get them out of the air with the 6.5. We've gotten 5-star pheasants out of the air with like the 270. Don't think we've ever shot a 5-star through another bird. This was actually a 72% 1-star mature, so not a terrible thing to take out. Obviously, when there's good genetics here, this is at least our 3rd 5-star goose in this area. We will take that. That was an 88%er. Makes 5-star probably just barely. 463.8. I do think they're more of like a normal 5-star, making it at 460. But we will tax that, adding another one of those small plaques to our lodge. We have another flock coming over. Better spot everything, because like I said, good genetics for the Egyptian geese up in this area. And it is the only part of the map that is private land, so not a huge surprise. Looking like all these are pretty average, though. So finally, we've got this opportunity to kind of push the 9.3 a little bit more. We're looking at 280 yards. And before we even fire the shot, I do want to look at what kind of energy we might be after. About 3,800 joules is not bad. I think we can do this, and I guess we're going to swap to maybe trying to get this guy. Just want to make sure we get the shot in the right area. Look good, pink blood. Kind of odd reaction from them. That one's going to charge. I knew there was a charging sound, might be more than one. We'll go for the male, although that one looks halfway promising. Might have to deal with a couple of these. That's a promising one too. I'm going to sidestep that. I'm not sure, but that one looks pretty good. Just got out of there. And typically once they miss you, they'll just leave. It's just a 1-star, I think, adult. But I don't know, nice looking hooks on that. Don't want to risk that being something special. The other male we shot, I'm not super sure wasn't great either. 2 females, you don't like to shoot a bunch of them, but I mean, when you get that charging behavior, it's pretty fun to take them out. And so far, the 9.3 has done an absolutely flawless job with that. Into the skull and insta-kill every single time. Not as much for hooks on this one, but just kind of wider set horns. That was an 83%er. Probably fringe 5-star. I think he falls just short. Definitely didn't want to end up taking that out, but I mean, what do you do? Man, again though, not bad. Right around 150 yards. And it brought him down. We're going to probably keep pushing this until we find a spot where it maybe doesn't perform as well. Gonna assume 800 yards, whatever that is, would be a distance at which it's not going to bring one down. But again, we'll look at what the energy looked like as it went through the lungs. But for it to only cover that much distance, as we're dropping nearly 1,000 joules of energy from, 20 yards out to nearly 300. Pretty darn impressive. Double lung again. And into that lung, we're right around 2,300 joules as it hits. Not the greatest. Oh, but it gets the job done. 87%. That probably would have been a future 5-star. I didn't think he was that big. And we were going to shoot the other one first until he kind of crossed in front, but I guess for the sake of science, we can live with it. And it looks like something we've been waiting on since literally day one has finally happened. One of our albino female Cape Buffalo has reached mature, and I don't want to push this to over 300 yards with this particular buffalo. We're going to try it yet today. But this one, we're going to try to get a little bit closer range. So since she turned away, we're just going to sneak in a touch closer. And hopefully whenever she goes back broadside, we can get that shot. That might be as good as we're going to get. Trying to go leg forward. Push that right up behind the shoulder. And we're going to see what happens on that. She's not starting to stumble just yet, which I don't love. We've seen what this thing can do. May need another shot. Every time she would kind of turn a little bit broadside, another buffalo would stand right in front of her. I kind of think we're going to be tracking them down again. And we can see the blood is definitely not going to be indicative of a lethal hit. So I still think we hit the lungs, and that may be right at that line of the distinguishing characteristic between the 9.3 and the 300. Only one way to find out, and that's to get a clean shot at it. So the question is, can we squeeze the shot in here? We've just gotten close enough to alert them all. And again, she's broadside, and more so than our last shot, just kind of sneaking along. There's a window there. Oh, I feel like we drifted a little high. We got the lung, so we should be okay. Wanted to keep that at least 2 or 3 inches lower, but just as we went to shoot, drifted way, way up. But she's stumbling, and we'll finally get to see, did that shot impact the lungs the first time? Oh, you have to be kidding me. There's another 5-star guinea fowl out here. We were not terribly far from just collecting that albino, and pretty much going to try to find one more Cape Buffalo to shoot long range. I wonder, can we do that again? We'll stick with the 6.5 because we haven't gotten to use it as much today. They're kind of moving at the same pace, so I don't really see getting to shoot through another one. I think we'll just take them. And that'll give our albino even a little additional time to expire. I think had she bedded down and we shot, it may have gotten her up again anyway. I actually don't know how that works. But we will absolutely take more small game 5-stars. I'm pretty sure we shot the right one, almost had to have been. Right through the heart. Not a bad deal. 98.88%. 1-star hunt rating because, of course, we use the 6.5. 497. We can never quite get a max score. We've had, and it's all birds, pheasants and guinea fowl, 497, 498, and 499. Just insane, but nice little bonus on our way to collect our albino. And speaking of, she was just down over the hill. So like I said, if they didn't call, I didn't realize they were there, never would have turned around and spotted the fact that there was another 5-star there. Pretty good deal as we're just moving along here, testing some stuff, getting some pretty nice kills. So one thing I'm really curious about with the albinos as well, or I guess the female Cape Buffalo more so than the fact that it's albino, is this going to be bigger than, I think, the 1-star young albino that we shot way back at the beginning of all this? Oh, that shot was perfect. Literally exactly what I wanted to do. We hit it in the heart with that leg forward, just not enough energy to bring it down. So I think the 300 does get that, because what did we hit with? I mean, by the time, it was still 4100 when we hit the flesh, but because of that angle, by the time we got into the vitals, we're sub 1000. I'm not 100% sure the 300 does actually get it. Second shot, left lung had already been damaged, right lung was enough to bring it down. Mature 1,000 pounds, we will tax that, and we'll see if it is any different really in the trophy lodge than our young albino. So I think this is going to be about as good as we can set up. It's actually been a little bit of a struggle to get a 300-yard shot opportunity at one of these things. That's not a bad looking Cape Buffalo either, but stay on task. Make this shot. That's going to be lethal. Can see the pink blood. So I've been bringing the UTV around, mostly in an effort to try to just get in a position for a 300-meter shot. We may follow them and just check on that one. I don't think it was like a 5-star or anything, but maybe like a 3 or 4. So, we now know that was a 3-star mature. So that answers the second part. The first part, that thing ran about the exact same distance. 130 to 150 yards. It seems like if you get broadside on these things, you can do enough damage to the lungs to bring them down quickly. If you're not broadside, you'll probably want more like the 370 yards, and I know it wasn't that much beyond what we've already done. 71%, at least we didn't shoot a feature 5-star this time. I think the 9.3 is a little better than I thought it was going to be, based on the ballistics and that comparison to the 350. It seems to me to perform somewhere in the middle between the 300 and the 350, so definitely something we'll be able to use more than I maybe thought we were going to when I saw the ballistics. So slightly more testing. Our 1-star young albino, hopefully this time when we put the mature up there, it'll actually have eyes. Can we see very well? Not really. There's supposed to be 2 hyenas there. I'm not gonna lie, I think the horns are the exact same size. It is a little lighter in color, a little more white compared to pink. So I guess worth it to try to let one mature. Unfortunately, it still does not have eyes, so that's still kind of creepy up there. But at least we now know there's a little bit of a difference, but it is minuscule, to say the least. So I think this needs a female Egyptian goose, or does it? Yeah, we can't put another one there. We need to get a female for that. We are, though, slowly starting to fill some of these kind of tabletop mounts. Are there even any left? Got one here, and I think we'll do the guinea fowl in that spot just to change things up. Let's do the standing one, just to make things a little bit different. Our second 5-star guinea fowl, and unfortunately that one we couldn't shoot through a separate guinea fowl. As for the other goose, though, I think we're going on the wall. And this corner is kind of being the one that we're really working on. So we'll go right in the center. Put our flying Egyptian goose. I think that's our third 5-star, not the 1-star that we shot on day 1. Looking pretty darn good. So hopefully one of these days we can get an albino male Cape Buffalo. Perhaps one of the respawns from all the ones we shot today in testing. We killed a whole bunch. And like I said, the 9.3 actually outperformed my expectations based on what we saw at the very beginning of the hunt. So really cool to see that. Glad that we hunted in that way and not just compared the 9.3 to the 300, because I think it would have been the obvious results. And we ended up killing 2 5-stars and our mature albino Cape Buffalo in the process. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.